Good evening and welcome to the July 3rd meeting of the East Point City Council. Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Shropshire,
Present.
Councilmember Robertson, Councilmember Renee, Councilmember Bailey, Councilmember Cummings, Councilmember Cook, Councilmember Butler, and Councilmember Gordon. Mayor Holiday Ingram, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Tonight, we will stand for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge to the flag. All right, our Sergeant at Arms this evening is Lieutenant Farmer. Thank you so much for your service this evening, Lieutenant. Do we have any presentations or announcements or any board appointments?
Madam Mayor, I have a couple board appointments. The first one is Nigel Rocourt. I'm appointing him to the Architectural Review Board, Downtown Review Board, and then a second appointment.
You can do them in the same motion.
Okay, my second appointment is Jackie Romaine for the Parks and Recreation Board.
So there's a motion to appoint Nigel Rocourt to the Downtown Architectural Overlay Review Board and Jackie Romaine to the Parks and Recreation Board. It's been moved by Councilmember Bailey, seconded by Councilmember Butler. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Any other presentation announcements or appointments? Just making sure. I don't have any. Okay. Next up, committee reports. Council member Cook, do we have any committee reports from pension or budget and finance?
Just briefly, Mayor, the Budget Finance Committee did have a meeting in the month of June and reported on the status of the city as of the end of the month of May. The one thing we can say this time of the year that all of the budget amendments we made during the course of the year really do pay off. We're at that point now where the only thing we have left is accruals, and then most of those should be processed within the next 60 days. We also note that we have started fiscal year 24. We haven't spent too much money yet, but it's about to happen. The other item that we have not closed out is the audit report for fiscal year 2021. In my last conversation with the city manager, that should probably take place within the next week or so. And keep in mind, is the minute we finish that audit, we have to begin on fiscal year 22, which is also falling behind on the calendar. But by the fall of the year, we're hoping that we have actually caught up to the point where we are working on fiscal year 23. Fiscal year 23 ended June the 30th of this year. So we're already into fiscal year 24. I anticipate that the Finance Division will remain very, very busy for the next couple of months with the audit activity. And I know we're not quite ready yet to publish this, city manager, but I think we can be looking forward to the S&P credit report that should be issued probably at the same time we finalize fiscal year 21 report. Is that correct? Yeah. Madam Mayor, that ends my brief report update.
All righty. I just have a question. Item number 4, I'm seeing is being pulled. Have we made that selection for 2023?
It's actually, the agenda's printed out wrong, but it's not online. It's correct online because Mr. Cook pulled his item first thing this morning.
No, I'm talking about item number 4 about the appointing of voting delegates for the 2023 MEAG power election.
Yeah, I talked to Sean, the electric director, and then he said that if the delegates were remain the same, then it was not needed to sign off on a resolution. Mr. Dow.
And we have Mr. Stewart with us this evening as well from MEAG. So I'm assuming you're probably here on number 1
Yes.
on the solar discussion. You're here for whatever we need. Okay, can we get an adoption of the council agenda removing item number, you said it's removed online?
Yes, it's removed online. It's just a
Okay.
glitch on the thing. I didn't see it, so I turned these things over.
Madam Mayor,
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
I would
Councilman
like to make a
Trevor.
motion,
Go
I'd like
ahead.
to remove item 3.
utility, she wants to remove item number 3.
So you remove item number 3?
Yes, and move it to work session, so we can remove it tonight because the presentation is not ready.
Madam City Clerk, if you could put item number 3 on the work session agenda so we can have a motion to approve the agenda, removing item number 3 to
And
the work
4.
session.
Okay. Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilman
I would
Trevor.
like to make a motion that we approve the agenda, moving item number 3 to work session.
That's a July work session, Councilmember Gordon?
Yes, that is correct. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, approval of city council minutes from the June 20th regular meeting of the East Point City Council. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Shropshire?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the city council regular meeting minutes from June 20th.
So moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We do not have any public hearings this evening. Do we have any public comments, Madam City Clerk?
No public comments this evening.
All righty, we're moving right on to the agenda. We have the first agenda item. If we can get a motion to open the floor for discussion and possible action. Councilmember Cook.
I saw it coming. Madam Mayor, I move that we open the agenda for discussion of item number 1, which deals with possible approval of the second amendment of the MEAG Solar Participant Power Contract.
So moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. King, the floor is open. I see our power director and our, I think, assistant director and Stewart from MEAG. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council, and all of our guests this evening. We have here tonight to come forward, which will be our Director of our Power Department, Sean Dow, our Assistant Director, Thomas Magnum, and also Stuart Jones with MEAG, who will be coming forward and can give you an overview of this particular item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the my power sales contract, this is an amendment to the price adjustment between MEAG, ourselves, and Walmart, where the producer of the power, who's gonna operate the solar plant, they're increasing the price, and Walmart has already agreed to the price increase, where we're just a pass-through. And once Walmart is good with that price, then we are good with it also. And I have Mr. Stuart Jones, Senior Regional Manager. He's our representative to MEAG. This is who I get all the information from, for MEAG, Mr. Stuart Jones.
Thank you, Sean. Mayor and Council. First off, let me say on item number 4, on the action for the MEAG Power Board, Sean is absolutely correct. If you're not making a change to who the voting delegate is, then we're good with that existing paperwork. Addressing the second amendment, just as a reminder, about 2022 or so, Walmart released their goal that going forward, they were going to try to provide for up to 75% of their energy needs nationally from renewable resources. They define renewable at that point as solar and wind. Georgia's not a real good place for wind, but we're a halfway decent place as far as solar goes. So that's how the whole project got started. You all obviously serve a Walmart out on Cleveland Avenue. The total project is 80 megawatts. You have about 1.5 megawatts to serve that facility. The second change, this first change is the increase in the price. The developer asked for the increase in the price, quite frankly, because at the $29.06, that wasn't enough revenue to come in for him to get the financing that he needs. So he raised it to this $37.75. And according to him, that's the last rate increase that he'll need, and it'll get him in the good position for the financing he needs for the actual project. The other thing that occurred in the original contract, it was for a 20-year purchase power agreement. He's reduced it to 15. Walmart has agreed to both the increase in the price and the 15 years reduction in the actual contract. Nothing has changed as far as the potential commercial operation date. It's still November of 2024. Walmart was hoping to have the energy on the grid for their use by the first quarter of 2025. At this point, we don't anticipate that being a problem. The location of the facility is outside of it's Wilcox County, as far as the actual site goes, if you have an interest in that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dow, Mr. Jones, Mr. Magnum. You're here for support.
I lean on him a lot.
Councilmember Butler.
Thank you. I did have that question about where the power was being produced. So I do have another scientific question for you. So if that power has been produced in Wilcox County, how is it being distributed to Walmart, or are they buying credits?
They're buying credits.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Now, the actual power will be put on the integrated transmission system, which is it's the 17,000 mile integrated grid we have all the way across the state. You all are members of that ITS, virtue of as being a member of MEAG, but it's credits. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So right now, CM, so we have a contract that's almost expiring in Alabama. So with the transmission system, ITS, Integrated Transmission System, that's what ITS stands for. We could sell power just about anywhere, within the state, outside of the state. It's almost, it's endless.
So you're speaking about our excess power at this point?
No, not so much excess power, but any type of contract or whatever the case may be that we may have. Because your question was, how will we get the power here? So, through that integrated transmission system, because for instance, the MEAG power plants are nowhere near the city, but through that integrated transmission system, we get power to the substations and then therefore out to our customers.
I just have one more question.
Go ahead.
How is this program available to other East Point businesses who want to have green power and invest in that way?
This particular project is fully subscribed. If East Point was interested in maybe being the genesis of another generation project, we could investigate that. But now I will tell you, at a minimum for MEAG to have another project, we would need to have 4 other participants. So it'll be 5 MEAG participants to go together and investigate having a solar project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Stuart, don't go too far away.
Okay.
We just had a real heated discussion without you, Stuart, in the city manager's office a few minutes ago. And it was quite enlightening. I'm not going to repeat everything we talked about, but I wanted to bring up this point. I think as a user of one of the valuable cities participating with the relationship with MEAG, it's forcing us now to really sit down and kind of think about what we foresee as the city's future power needs. And I think we're all becoming smart enough to realize we don't really care how the power is made as much as how much it's going to cost us to get the power, regardless of how it's made. And those on that other end are the ones that are looking at the effectiveness of the power plants. Who's hurting the most as we discontinue the use of coal? Those areas of the country, not necessarily areas of the state where they're really dependent on water to run those turbines, so forth and so on. And I think right here in the state of Georgia, we're right now probably benefiting from just a little bit of everything. But that's going to change on us as we identify our total power needs is going to increase and what it's going to take to kind of get there. Now, one of the things I'm beginning to see with this project with Walmart, that there's a lot of innovation going on right now. You know, when we first brought this up, we were all fearing that we were going to pass by the Walmart on Cleveland Avenue, look over at the building, and we won't find the building because of all the solar panels around it. And that won't be the case. Solar panels will be involved. What did you say, Wilcox County or something like that?
Yes, sir. It's
Okay.
It's utility scale solar.
And the juice pumped up to this area for Walmart to do what they need to do on their end.
Right.
I'm gonna stop talking about that because I think the next real serious discussion we're gonna have as a group like this is looking at the onslaught of residential properties who are becoming more interested in going solar panels at the residential site. I was surprised to learn today we have that many solid customers right now. One of them I actually know the family. Caught me by surprise kind of thing. So we can anticipate seeing a lot of that. And then as we're going to discuss at the MEAC conference, how just the electric vehicles also beginning to push even more demand on the entire grid.
Right.
All right, so that's enough talking. I'm just trying to impress you that sometimes I do understand what you're talking about. And I need to work harder at it kind of thing, but thank you.
Okay. Let me throw out one thing that we'll be bringing to your staff and ultimately to your all's attention later on in the fall. This is the year that we do our next integrated resource plan. So we're looking out 25, 30 years. Solar is going to be a part of that mix. One of the other, you had mentioned coal being closed. We closed Plant Shear last year. One of the things that we're going to be really looking at hard and heavy is, do we want to keep using Plant Shear? It's the coal unit that's outside of, it's north of Macon, but around Forsyth. And we're going to have to be doing our due diligence to determine whether or not we're going to keep that in the fleet. If it comes out, then we're going to have to come up with some other technology to replace that 250 megawatts worth of base load. So we'll be coming to you all with that data later on in the fall.
Don't you think the increased pressure from EPA is just going to basically make that an obsolete issue?
That's clearly on the horizon.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about our mix. So there's been discussion previously about decommissioning Share as we did. What's the other one before Share?
Wansley's the one that's
Wansley.
now been decommissioned.
Okay.
Right.
So we've already in the process of decommissioning that and considering decommissioning Share, our other coal load. As it relates to residential solar, I think we passed solar rates in 2016, 17. It's been a while ago because Georgia law required us to, and so residents are absolutely able in our city to be able to enter into those private arrangements for solar and expanded solar. In our equitable growth and inclusion strategic plan, we included in there that any additional load above the load that we are now, I think probably at full load or about 8 megawatts short of being at full capacity, I think is 114 megawatts. At one point we were down at 80. We are now like over 100 and really will be.
TX Group.
Who?
TX Group.
Yeah,
Your
and so
crypto
we're
customer.
gonna really be needing to have a conversation about this goal that we articulated in that plan of that any additional power will be 100% renewable as we add additional power to our mix, to our integrated resource plan. And so right now we have some coal, very minimal, We were 94%. I know like 2 years ago, we were 99% non-CO2 emitting energy. Then we went to, I think, 95, and we're still in the 90s. We actually have the cleanest energy out of all 49 participants in the MEAG system and MEAG as a whole. And MEAG's CO2 emission rate is lower than other, I'll just say other power companies as well. And so East Point is leading the way as it relates to clean energy. And in order to ensure that as we add additional loads, so right now we have some coal, but mostly a lot of hydro, nuclear, and then some water. And so as we think about, we're continuing to grow. We have a number of developments underway. Where is that power going to come from? Concern about solar is backup storage and battery plants that are very unsafe and very noisy, and where would those go in our city? But there are other water, wind, there's not much on the horizon of that, and also some other cleaner energies. And so I think as we look at our integrated resource plan, when are you all coming back to us to have that discussion as we look out at building that? And I think internally, like our water comes from, I think, the government, federal government, and not,
September timeframe along with the preliminary budget for 2024.
Okay, so September timeframe, but when you come in September, is that when it needs to be approved? Because I think we need to have some discussions prior to the time that we need to.
My understanding is September will be the presentation to
Okay.
you all, and then you'd have obviously time to digest it and all that.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
so September, we should have our
Right.
first presentation on that. All right. All right, okay, IRP. September. All right, I don't see any other lights. This is for action, though. We got off on a whole different number of tangents as it relates to power because of this contract being for renewable energy, which is good. There is a request that we approve the Second Amendment of the MEAG Solar Participant Power Contract. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. And if we don't see you before September, we look forward to seeing you in September for the presentation. All righty. Bless you. Next up, discussion on changes to council salary. Councilmember Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that we open the floor for light discussion on the topic.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. The floor is open.
I can start.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilmember Cook.
There's been a lot of research that's going on for the last couple of weeks. And what we've tried to do with the help of the HR department and the city manager is sort of review again where salaries are for city council. And in the process of doing that, we have looked at studies that are done statewide, elected officials compensation survey for a lot of the cities in the state of Georgia. And what you find when you look at the entire state is a mixture. It's about as almost unjustifiable as anything you really want to see until you actually look at a municipality. Not necessarily how large it is, but how diverse in the services it is. Then you have to look at the regional area for that and a bunch of other things you look at that allows a city to come up with something that they think they can live with as it relates to salaries for the elected group. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about this because you can justify almost any rationale for not doing anything at all that you want to. But one of the things we discovered in reviewing Fulton County, it is as diverse as any other area. But the thing that really caught my attention is what the difference in the salary ranges are for the city of East Point compared to the city of College Park, compared to the city of Hateville, and compared to the city of Union City. And it's quite interesting when you review that. Didn't include the city of South Fulton for a lot of logical reasons. First of all, the population is so loud there, large, that it's more like comparing a miniature city of Atlanta. And keep in mind, the city of South Fulton does not have a long history as a municipality. When you say South Fulton City, what you're basically saying is another word to describe unincorporated Fulton County, because that's basically what you had to start with. Now, to stay on target here, one of the things that came up as we sort of debated where we are as a council, where can we be? And there was a lot of discussion over whether or not we're full-time employees, part-time employees, are we on an hourly rate or what have you. Well, in making the comparison, this is what I discovered. I don't care how you reimburse your governing body, you're going to get back to some basic math, some basic program, and that is how you pay these individuals. And most people would just keep it kind of simple. I'm paying you $20 a year, but I gotta have a payroll system that can pay you, and it operates over an hourly rate. So when we take the concept of full-time employees being what, 22,080 hours a year, divide that into your salary, you got an hourly rate. That's the way that computer is gonna compute your salary. When I take mine out and I look at it, and it should be other folks up here with the same identical information, I look at that block that says hours, then the rate. And all I have to do is some simple calculations, and I can come up with the hourly rate matched if I back into it using the annual salary, which is almost $16,000 a year. A little short by a couple of pennies. But you're going to come out with $7.69 per hour. Now, we can spend the next 100 years discussing whether or not we're full-time employees, part-time employees. One thing you need to agree on, we are exempt employees, exempt from the overtime salary rate. Now, you can say we're going to get paid one day out the whole year. We got discretion for the rest of the 364 days if you want to. But let's just keep it simple. Whatever number we come up with, the computer system is going to calculate it on an hourly basis. It's been doing that now, I think, for maybe at least the last 30 years or so. Now, something else that I found very interesting as the HR director did her study, and this brings things a little closer to home. We can come up with matches or close matches to our city as it relates to anything that we do. But let's not cheat ourselves. We're a full service operation. And when I say that, City of East Point provides basically every utility a citizen needs with the exception of gas. And somebody tried to say, well, no, we also include cable television, but that's not a utility, that's amusement. So when you look at that, then that narrows your search down and you try to make some comparison. All right, let me skip all of this and let's get down to some real core things. When the HR director presented me with some specific cities, they even jump off of all around the map, but three things stood out. We actually have now a situation where the College of East Point mayor earns more a year than the mayor of East Point. That the mayor for Union City earns more than the mayor for the city of East Point. Both of those cities have roughly close to half of the population of the city of East Point. And none of those two provide all of the services that we do to our citizens. And East Point's population, give or take on what day you count it, maybe about 38, going on 39,000 folks. As I wrestle with that bit of research, and I'm not trying to compare us to Marietta, Georgia, to Savannah, Georgia, anything along that line, but right here in our own neighborhood. I don't come up with a rationale when I consider all of the responsibilities of this council, why even the mayor should fall short. Now, I'm not a proposer that says the mayor of East Point, because we got twice the population, the mayor in East Point ought to have twice the salary. No, I'm not going to suggest that. But what I will suggest is, why not at least cap our mayor's position off with the other two cities, or as close to that as we possibly can? There is already an existing relationship between the salary for the mayor and the council members. Let's maintain that same spread. So when I use the numbers, not play with them, and use the hourly rate calculation, I come up with, what does it take to at least match the other two mayor positions that I mentioned, or even top it a little bit? And to make a long story short, it comes out to the fact that an increase for the mayor up to $12.02 and the council up to $10.01 would probably put us in a matching category with those other two cities, especially with the mayor's position. And what we're trying to also do here is maintain that same spread between the mayor's salary and the other two. Now, the other thing that's very interesting about that is that we can come up with equity for those two positions and don't come anywhere near exceeding the minimum wage of East Point employees today. Not the proposed increase that the city manager is working on, but the current. If our mayor was paid $13 an hour, you're talking about an annual salary of $27. But I'm saying maybe our first goal ought to simply be at least match the other two cities that we know we can compare to. So what we have on the table now as a possible logical increase would be raising the mayor's salary to at least $25,000 a year. That's $12.02 an hour, still below that 13 minimum that we used to have for employees. Raising council to $21,000, $4,000 spread, which is very close to what we already have, and that would translate to $10.01 an hour. Keep in mind, even when we increased the salary ranges 4 years ago, that was the first increase that council had had in about 20 years. Now think about the logic, even with that. We increased the council salary 4 years ago, first increase in about 20 years. You know the rank and file employees had increases over that 20 years. You know they had more than one. We may not be able to prove they didn't have enough increases, or that the increases that they got weren't high enough. But there at least were increases. So what am I driving at? If the salary ranges that were changed 4 years ago stood ground for 20 years, they didn't stand ground because they were so high. No, employees came first for all those years until it became almost, well, in fact, not even worth discussing. All right, let me get back to my basics. What I'm putting out on the table for us to seriously consider is changing the salary ranges so that we at least compare with the city of College Park and the city of Union City. And if you don't agree with that change, it'd be interesting to see how the discussion goes as to why you would not want to make that change. Now, as it stands right now, we are still on our time clock. Our mission says that we must decide up or down what we're going to do with the salary ranges in time enough to have that final decision posted to the general public prior to qualifying dates for this fall election. And if I do the math and look back at the chart, if we start with next week's publication in the newspaper and do it every week and meet the state law that requires a minimum of at least 3 weeks prior to the vote, we will be on schedule. That simply means that we can have many discussions if we want to between now and August the 7th. But August the 7th is do or die, it's fly or go home. You either pass the proposal we have out there or it will fail. But keep in mind, whatever we do will have to be done before qualifying for the next election is done. Qualifying starts on August the 21st through August the 22nd and August the 23rd. Now, the city manager's office, the city clerk's manager office is helping me with a lot of the administrative work. That's a good thing because they don't trust me with computers or anything along that line. But one of the things we realized is to our advantage is to, number one, be prepared by this Wednesday to make a public announcement in the paper that this council is considering a salary increase. And starting with next week's publication, we will publish that project every week up until the week before August the 7th. The state law requires that there are at least 3 notices that must take place before the night you vote. And the law also states that whatever decision we make must be done before qualifying. That's it, folks. I want you to brew over what I just discussed with you, think about it, and this time we talk about it. If you disagree with what I put out on the table, have an alternate. But seriously think about the rationale of not wanting to support the salary income for our mayor versus 2 other cities where we are twice as large as they are in population. Don't even know how much larger our budget is, was afraid to look at it, kind of thing. We're all entitled to our own opinion as to what we should do. I think by now you know how I think. Madam Mayor, I yield.
Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Cook. We definitely had a great conversation offline about this, but I have got to state, I sent an email to Mayor, Council, the city manager, and the HR director. Councilmember Cook stated that this council currently makes $7.69, which is not true. If we are calculating $16,000, you divide that by 1,040 hours, because we are part-time, that is not up for debate. If you divide 16,000 by full-time hours, 2,080 hours, as he stated, you will get $7.69, but we are not full-time. We are part-time. So at a part-time rate, we actually make at $16,000 a year, $15.38. So in effort to talk about or discuss an increase in pay, you've got to start at $15.38, which for your conversation may be fine, that you maybe want to more so talk about a salary increase in terms of annual salary versus hourly rate, because if you're going to talk about hourly rates, the starting place is going to be $15.38, not $7.69. Let's imagine if this council is making $7.69, councils before us, I guess they just work for free. So basically, I just want to make that clear. It was confirmed by Ms. Jessie in the response to the email that I sent with this calculation, and she basically, well, literally said, you are mathematically correct. She just said that it's up to mayor and council to decide whether or not we're full-time or part-time. It is not up for debate as to whether or not we are full-time or part-time. It is on the record that we are part-time. So that's my stance on that. I want to make sure that for the record, for our residents, that you know that this is the actual rate per part-time calculation. I will be voting no. There is no debate for me, and there's no alternative for me. And this is why. We still have unresolved compression, meaning there are people who have recently been hired to work for the city that are making our minimum wage at $15.45. And there are people who have worked here several years who are also making $15.45. And until that compression has been resolved, and until we can determine through that compression study how much we can raise our minimum wage for people who work for this city day in, day out, overtime, all the time, and they need a raise. When that is complete, when that is approved, then I will be comfortable with mayor and council getting a raise. I'm not saying this mayor and council doesn't deserve a raise, or any mayor and council doesn't deserve a raise. But what I am saying is, not right now, not when we have for years been dealing with compression, and we do a whole lot of other things in this city. But we have not addressed that issue just yet, and we are just now getting to it. And this study is not complete. It is not complete, and we don't know when it will be complete exactly. We have been given a suggestion of what a possible minimum increase or increase in minimum wage might be, which is only about $16.19. And I would hope that that minimum wage would be higher. I would hope that this body would seek to do better than $16.19. But because so much is still up in the air, I will not sit here and vote on a raise for mayor and council, because we don't have to do it. We can do it. We don't have to do it. But what we do have to do is resolve and mitigate our compression. And until that is done, I will not support a raise for mayor and council when we are working part-time. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Cook.
First thing I want to address is just the pure math. Now, as far as I'm concerned, we're all exempt employees because we're going to work until the job is done. But let's just get back to the basic. No one on this council misses a pay period. You get a statement or something is done to your checking account that shows that you are receiving income from this city. When you tally it up, it doesn't come quite to 16,000. It's a few pennies short. But find the flaw in the computation, because every pay stub you get is going to have that $7.69 rounded off. We can debate whether or not that's accurate as far as the law or anything else you want to challenge. But the math is there. The math is there. Deny it if you want to, the math is there. Now, the other thing I want to mention is I talked about comparing with the other mayors. Through quote, and I didn't come up with this information, the HR director did by talking to the corresponding HR director. For the city of College Park, the mayor earns $24,197.08. City council is at $20,918.40. Who was the other one? Union City. The mayor earns $24,990. Council is at $15,849.96. These two cities, College Park, $13,811 for. Union City, $27,994. Don't even have the budget for these cities in front of me. Didn't take time to do that, but we can look at that if we need to in the future. Anybody else want to put down there? Not really, because their makeup is just so much different from even the other cities that are there. It's not really a fair comparison. But based on what it takes to operate all three of these particular cities, the salaries for their incomes, what have you, I don't see the argument. But you're entitled to feel what you want to feel. I'm trying to take a logical approach to justify either doing something or nothing at all, and the rationale behind. Okay? Some folks basically say, it's just give me $1, I'll be here every day. Keep in mind, when you do that, all of a sudden you realize everybody on this council is going to be, what the term, buck rich. basically, that you really just need something to do, kind of thing. But you have a working council up here, and you are entitled to say no to an increase. And if you say yes to the increase, you should feel good about that decision too, warrant on more facts than maybe emotions. But that's not here or there. We're going to have a few more weeks to discuss this item. Madam Mayor, I yield.
So I don't see anyone else's lights on at this point. And this is going to be a decision that council is going to have to make. Councilmember Cook is recommending a $5,000 basically increase for everyone. 5,000 times 9 is $45,000 budgetary impact annually. I think the commitment to our staff and the salaries has remained there and is constantly something that I think we actually have unanimous agreement on. And once the compression study is completed, ultimately this council is going to decide what the minimum hourly rate would be. We received information from staff indicating that they be recommending $16.19. Let's be clear, the $15.45 an hour. The starting salary for anyone in the city is, I believe it's $32,136. I didn't do the math on what the 16,019 would be. $16.15 an hour, not 19. But if that's something that we like to even increase, we can. I think when we look at a budget of about $200 million, and I'll turn it over to the city manager as it relates to the budgetary impact. What I came up with $45,000 a year for everyone total. Talking about $5,000 extra per year, and $5,000 divided by 12 is $416.67 a month increase. So I think it's important that we put the numbers out there and contextualize it so that this desire or the idea that this council is about to walk away with 100% increase or, an exorbitant increase, hopefully can be put to bed. If not, people will have the facts. We're talking about $5,000. The $45,000 impact per year. We got $814,000 in events budgeted that we approved with not even a blink of an eye, plus the $400,000, yes, for Wednesday wind down. So, and if you total up some of the events per council member up here, it's over $5,000 a year. So if we want to have a real conversation about what we're doing and the impact, then we need to be very clear about that and what the annual budgetary impact will be. So it's not perceived as this is this big money grab by this council, and taken into perspective with a lot of other things that are definitely more than $5,000 per person per year, or $45,000 even annually. Mr. King, I still don't see anyone else with a light on. As it relates to the compensation study, I think maybe if you can provide some updates on that. We received some information. I don't know if you have anything differently to add. And then also to the budgetary impact of what is being recommended by Councilmember Cook. Maybe my math is off, but 9 times 5 is 45. And if I add the zeros behind it, I come up with 45,000. Mr. King.
Yeah, our HR director, Ms. Iris Jesse, has been working with Mark Holcomb with Evergreen Solutions on this issue, and is finishing the study. The lowest paid person, which would be labor one, is a $16.50, based on what the initial preliminary findings show. We don't have a complete review until she completes all the remaining positions, but she was looking at that position as kind of like the lowest baseline. But then there's a group that falls within that same category. But Labor One is the one that was a 1650 amount. So the goal is we're hoping we have something completed by Evergreen, our consultant for the pay study within the coming month or so. But they're getting there, and then we can give you a budgetary impact as well once we have those final numbers. So right now they're doing that process, finishing up all the positions that would fall within that category that you all would want to look at and provide your overall review. So I'm hopeful we're hoping for the month of August as the timeline. That's our goal.
Any other comments? There's been a recommendation by Councilmember Cook. You all can either take action tonight. If you don't take action tonight, the July 17th meeting, I believe, it will still give time. So there's still some time. So I don't know if you all want to talk about this at work session or table, but we need more than 2 voices or 3 voices on this. Councilmember Shropshire.
I have a question. So, Councilmember Cook, do you want to take this to work session and come back the last Monday in July?
If we follow the law, we must discuss what we think our final vote is going to be for at least 3 consecutive weeks before we vote.
So,
We're actually going to do it longer than that, but we need to allow time for the publication in the news media.
so
so-
do we still fall in line with the publication?
If we follow the recommendations of starting with next week's paper, which means that our article has to be submitted to the paper Wednesday of this week, if I'm not mistaken. The first article does not have to state the amount that we want to approve. All we have to do is start off letting the public know of the intent. But on August the 7th, as the vote date, it will be time, that would be an early enough time to meet the qualification for qualifying.
So we just gotta have it in the paper with the intent to do it.
For at least 3 weeks.
Okay.
And it must be done before qualifying is over.
Okay, so if we vote tonight, we're only voting to put it in the paper with the intent to do a salary.
That gives us
Just gives
additional
us time,
time.
whether it's voted up or down. It's still
Correct.
just, okay.
We're still
that's
in
what-
discussion mode.
Okay, all right, that's what I'm
We
trying to
only
get to.
vote once and we will vote on August the 7th.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. Thank you.
That's a good point to raise. And I was looking over at the interim city attorney. We can't approve it until after we've published. Okay, so we're not deciding tonight on the amount. The decision needed tonight is whether or not we'll start the process to be able to ultimately vote on whether we'll have it. Interim city attorney.
You're absolutely correct, Madam Mayor. In addition to that, Councilmember Cook is correct that it has to be 3 consecutive weeks of discussion. And if you time it out for the publication, that has to occur. That would have to occur. Additionally, you do not have to list the proposed amount. There just has to be the notification that this body will consider the increase. And that consideration could be up or down, as Madam Mayor has referenced. I think that's pretty much it.
Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So essentially a vote tonight, I'm directing my question, it's going to be rhetorical probably. Let me just ask it. So basically, voting tonight to take this step is essentially voting yes for the raise. It's just you're not putting a dollar amount to it.
If it's for me, I think it would depend on what the motion is, 1, but 2, I think I would imagine that the motion would be a vote to move forward with the consideration of a raise, because the ultimate vote is going to be the one that you take on August 7th, right? So I don't know that.
Consideration to continue a discussion or consideration?
Consideration for a raise. not to consider.
Right, so basically, if you vote yes, you're voting to basically proceed with the process to get to the point where the vote on the raise occurs. So basically, a yes vote tonight is a yes vote on the 17th or whatever date.
Not necessarily.
no,
So
no,
if we
no.
vote yes tonight on an increase, we violated the law. So we can't, the motion tonight can't be to increase it. Councilmember Cook has made a recommendation as to what the increase should be, but we will have to publish for 3 weeks and then make a decision and vote later. So a vote tonight is not approving any number. We've had a discussion around what the recommendation is, and it could change either way by the time we ultimately make the decision. So a vote tonight is not voting to actually approve it, because that'd be a violation of the law. The motion, if there's gonna be one, would be to start the process to consider an increase in salary for mayor and council. And then ultimately, that vote would be later. And I don't know, I don't know if the compression study will be done by then. We might have other information, but tonight is not a vote on an amount.
Right, I understood that. I just felt like if the ball is rolling, it's just going to keep rolling on. But that's fine. Okay, I'm fine. Thank you.
So I want to be clear to anyone watching and to the public about if there is a vote tonight, it will not be on the raise, because that is not the legal process that we have to follow. Any vote tonight, and I'm gonna be clear so there's no ambiguity, or it's kind of like this or that. No, it's not. It is that the law says in order for us to have a raise as mayor and council, there's a process that we have to follow, and we can't vote before it happens. And so there's a discussion, there's been research, thank you, Councilmember Cook and staff, around what the amounts could be and what those recommendations are, and the public is aware of what a recommendation from a council member has been so far. I mean, other people haven't spoken as to whether or not they agree or disagree, and maybe that's good for tonight, but that's a recommendation. Ultimately, we'll have to take a vote after the publication. And so if we want to go through the process or be able to consider a raise, what would be needed tonight is a motion to authorize the start of that process to consider a raise, so that then ultimately we won't vote twice. This is not a vote tonight for an increase and later for an increase. That was a violation of law. Tonight is a vote, if there is one, on starting the process so that the increase can actually be considered and voted on by council after publication for 3 weeks. Still no other lights, so I don't know what, Councilmember Robertson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to have a quick question to staff, and I know you answered it, but I probably didn't hear you. Back to the compression study, what's the timeline again on that? And I apologize if I didn't hear you, but I need some clarity because we got a situation up here.
It's possible. I'm gonna see if Miss Jessie could have it done before this date. And so it's a possibility she could have it done by the time or before you even would vote on this on August the 7th. So if that's the case, I'll bring it to you before that date. And so I'll get some more information from her this week to see where they are. Mr. Holcomb, who came before us and presented, that last month, he is making some progress. And so it's very, very possible he can have it done before then. I just can't say the exact date. But I'm gonna find out and give you an update and see if he thinks he'll have it done before we even get to that August 7th date. So you'll have that information in hand as well. That's the goal I have.
Okay, I have a follow-up, but along with a statement again. And I, like most council, we are focused on staff first, and I think that's where our heart is. And my personal conversation with staff, it breaks my heart of the hardships that they go through because they do a tremendous job with the heavy workload that they have. So what I like to see if we can somewhat fast track, and what I'm hearing from staff, Mr. City Manager, is that it looks like, in reference to the compression study, that there will be an opportunity to have some advances for staff, but I just don't know how much. Is that correct? Or help me out if I'm off. advances the increase. It looks like, but we just haven't, the compression studies is gonna break down the numbers of how much, who gets what, when, and where. I'm assuming. It's not like we're doing a compression study and say there's no money and nobody deserves a raise.
Well, it's
Is
gonna
that-
be,
Help me out.
it is, I know we're calling it a compensation study. I know that we're saying it's a compression study, but in essence, the compensation study is to make sure we bring everybody up to market rate, not just the lowest position, but just every position. But that's where we're starting. That's gonna be phase one, and I'm hoping I figure if we can bring phase one, which would be the lowest positions, then that I would want to bring to you sooner than later. And so there's that one position I use an example, labor one, but there's a series of others that are just above that. If we can have those together, that will be the first step I want to have to bring to you. So I'll see where we are. We'll see where we are this week on that, because that's the first phase. Everything else we can come later, but that's the first phase. That'll give you a baseline that you'll need. That's really what you want. And that's what I'm looking to bring to you as soon as I can.
Well, I can just tell you, I need more conversation. I'm okay with the conversation continue, but I'm not okay with supporting today a vote for council to get a raise. I can't support that today. I'm okay. I'm just making my statement. I'm okay with the conversation to continue, and I yield. Thank you.
Councilmember Cummings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know we've kind of gone back and forth quite a few times with regards to what we're doing with regards to raising. I know just like my colleagues, everyone, we want to make sure that staff is taken care of. And I know, and it may be me asking a question again. So you're saying now that the study is just going to kind of give us that comparison and let us know where that baseline will be when we start with the salary increases? Because I think the biggest thing is, are they going to get a salary? Are they going to get an increase in their salary? I mean, because I know the study is just saying what the disparities are, with regards to that, but.
It's gonna come with a recommendation. And that's one I trust Miss Jessie for all that she's doing, and the consultant as well. It'll come with a recommendation on what would be a baseline for each of those
What was the
positions. Yes, it would. In essence, the whole idea is so that we have a path moving forward for also pay increases, progressions as they move up years of service, things of that nature. So it's supposed to be a holistic approach. I know we're saying that just that one area, but the goal that we have is that people who are here for a number of years can see themselves progressing as they move through time. But yes, that'll be included in there. So it will take care of any potential compression that could come up. Because the city hadn't had one of these done in the previous timeline that I've been here. So it'll take care of that, so there won't be any compression down the road moving forward with that recommendation, because they want to come up with a pay scale that goes with it.
Okay, so, and I know you're kind of in the hot seat when we ask these questions, because you
I'm
can't
fine.
take a particular dollar amount, but I'm just saying this, if I am in sanitation and I've been there for 5 years, and I'm sure they may be at 1545, once the study is completed, will I get some money? Will I get, if I know I can hear 1650 or something? That's the thing, we just need I think a yes or no will, for everybody that's supposed to be adjusted, they will get something. I know, because I know I keep hearing recommendation. And the thing is, I mean, we can come out with a whole bunch of stuff, what we think what it should be, but are they going to actually receive some sort of compensation?
That's the plan, but I can't say what that amount would be or begin to talk on that, though. That would be ahead of the finance director and talking to them. I would never throw anything out there like that, other than to say that the goal is ultimately to make sure that everyone gets an increase, starting from that lowest level positions first. That's the plan. And so until I get that, and then I gotta get the finance team
That's fine.
together.
I won't even, okay, we're good, we're good. Now, one more thing, consider, once we do go in and we make those adjustments, those salary adjustments, is there any way, because I think it will be sort of based off of when we start our fiscal budget, which is July 1st. So let's just say once they come in and they make those adjustments, we'll say that it comes out officially in September. Is there a chance is there a possibility that we could retro that pay back from in July?
I'd have to see how much that would.
I mean, yeah, just to see, and I know everybody always tells me, this is East Point and not Atlanta, but I mean, they do have that where we've had our, pay increases. Supposed to be in July when the fiscal budget starts, but because they didn't really get everything sorted out until maybe September, they retroed our pay back. So that's just a consideration that I'd like to put out for the body for us to consider if the budget will allow us to do it. And I'm almost certain that, the employees staff would definitely appreciate it. So just a consideration that we can put out for them as well.
Anytime we can help our employees in that regard, we will. But I would definitely consider that as an option too. I would look at all options are there
All right.
until further information. But yeah, definitely all options will be considered, including that potential of that too. I'll bring it to you, and it'll be a budgetary amendment to the overall budget, which would include any retro or anything, or even a cost of living adjustment. That would all be included if we could in there. So that's all something we're looking at. Yes.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Councilmember Shropshire, and I'll come back to you.
Thank you. Just so everybody's clear, this is just a motion to start the process. We're not voting on an increase because you can still vote it up or down August the 7th. You're just voting to start the process. I know when we did the, what was that called? I can't remember. It was a livable wage when we brought the lowest paid up. When we voted for that, that started like right then and there. It was a budget amendment to give those employees under the livable wage. And I think we did that in 2018. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, 2018.
It became
2017.
effective July 1 of 2019.
2019 when we did the livable wage. But we can, once you determine what's the employees are gonna make to bring them up, it's up to the council to vote it up or down. We can decide if that amount is enough. If not, that's a council decision based on what the finance department or the HR provides. We can always say increase it, decrease it. That's a council decision. We can always say amend the budget so it'll go into effect right then and there. But what's being voted on tonight is just to start the process. It's not saying we're gonna get a raise, because you can vote it up or down on August the 7th. It's just allowing, like we do everything else, it's just to allow the process to start. That's it.
Councilmember Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just so we don't have too much smoke in the room choking us, when you think in terms of the total payroll for the entire city, excluding the city council, we're talking about some serious money. To the extent that whatever not whatever, we know what the load is, it's easy to calculate, but whatever you want to use as the load for the council income, not giving that and turning it over to what we think is helping the rest of the employees. It's more like using a water pistol to put out a forest fire. Will have no impact whatsoever because the amount we're talking about up here is just as small. But I do understand the more aspects of that. You know, you don't rob Peter to pay Paul, okay? You know, you only take a cookie from a 13-year-old to give it to a 2-year-old, but you don't do the reverse. So with all that in mind, let's just keep things in perspective. You can deny council an increase for the next 20 years. And that's not going to be the thing that's going to help boost the salary ranges for the rank and file employees because it is so much larger. So just keep that in mind. But let's get back to basics. Madam Mayor, I move that we can on increase in salaries with a vote to take place on August 7th, 2023.
Been moved and properly seconded that we, and I'm gonna defer to the interim city attorney just because I want to make sure that we're not getting ahead of it. You said continue the process. Should the motion be to officially start the process to consider?
For consideration, yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Cook?
Yeah, I could debate that because it actually started the first time we started talking about it, but it was a moot point. Okay, so let's just keep moving ahead because
So-
the real issue here is to make sure there is public notification of the intent that takes place at least 3 weeks before the night we vote.
Correct. And we want to make sure we're legally sound and don't get ahead of ourselves around what the law requires. So I'm going to turn to the interim city attorney again as to what the motion should be. Because yes, there was research done and there's all of that, but we can't go back. So the motion made tonight needs to be just the proper language. That's all. I'm not trying to go back and forth or debate with y'all. It's just, we need to make sure it's right. You don't have an opportunity to do another motion. So interim city attorney, I'll defer to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I were to, well, not if I were, I would probably believe that the appropriate motion be made would be to move the matter forward to consider a increase in compensation for the elected officials or something like this.
Councilmember Cook.
Quick question, city attorney. The law specifically states that there must be 3 weeks of prior notification,
That's absolutely correct.
okay? And what we're actually doing is starting a little ahead of 3 weeks. I think all total is going to be maybe 4 or
I think
5
5.
if we start this week. Now, if we must notify the public at least 3 weeks before the vote, then what's the ruling on how soon can you start? And what requires that? And what would require the 3 weeks advance notice? If you follow me.
I did not. I'm
So
sorry.
I'm gonna be the interpreter right here. So we, yes, have done research, have looked at different salaries, and I think Councilmember Cook and Butler saying, well, we've already started the process of considering. I think what the interim city attorney suggested addresses that, because he said the motion should be to move forward to consider an increase,
Correct.
right? So that's moving forward, going through the rest of the process.
Right, that's correct, and that actually is inclusive of that.
What the work that is
that
already
work
been
that
done.
that's correct.
Councilmember Cook? Or you want the motion to continue? Madam City Clerk, if you could read back the motion.
I have the motion to move the process forward for consideration, and then it stopped.
That was what the interim city attorney
That was
said.
the last one that he just made, correct?
Councilmember Cook, are you okay with revising your motion to that?
If it makes sense to everybody, yes.
Councilmember Butler, does your second still stand? Okay, any further discussion on the motion to move forward to consider an increase in compensation for mayor and council? Seeing no lights, all those in favor? All those opposed? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Shropshire, Councilmember Robertson, Councilmember Bailey, Councilmember Cummings, Councilmember Cook, Councilmember Butler, Councilmember Gordon. The motion passed.
All right, so Mr. Cook, you'll work with the clerk and legal regarding the process. This was not a vote tonight, and be clear, this was not a vote on an increase tonight. It will go through the process and the vote will be taken at a future council meeting. I think we're looking at August 7th. That, I believe, concludes our agenda items tonight, as item number 3 was moved to the July work session. Do we have any comments from let me ask first, do we have any executive session items? Legal?
No, ma'am.
Mr. King?
No.
Council? Everybody was like holding their breath like, council? Okay, so great. Comments from council, and then we'll be doing a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Gordon and Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank everyone who was here tonight. I think it was mostly staff, but also those watching online. Thank you so much. I want to just make an announcement about an upcoming event next week. Saving Our Sons is coming to East Point. I'm so excited. The founder of Next Level Boys Academy and Empowerment Center, Mr. Gary Davis, has been working with me on this event, and we added a Moms Raising Sons event. I'm a boy mom, and I thought about the fact that there are often times when you're a single mother, or even if you're married or whatever your dynamic is, just needing some level of a network to sit and talk. So Thursday, July 13th at 6:30 p.m., we will have Moms Raising Sons, which is basically a ladies' night out of empowerment and conversation about the joys and challenges that come with raising boys, and sometimes a roller coaster. Then the culminating event, the huge event, will be Saturday, July 15th, which is the Saving Our Sons event in actuality. Mr. Davis works with the City of Atlanta and Union City, and this program has done phenomenally. He is also a go-to for court systems with his mentoring program, and so we will get a touch and taste of what that mentoring program is like. So I invite you all, ladies, moms with sons, or women parenting sons, please come out Thursday, July 13th. Both events will be held at the 4 Point Sheraton, and again, Saturday, July 15th. Bring all your boys, youth groups, churches, anyone who has a boy. Please feel free to join us Saturday, July 15th at the 4 Point Sheraton, starting at 9 a.m. Other than that, I'd just simply like to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. Please join us in the great city of East Point tomorrow. The moment we've been all waiting for. We are back in business with our fireworks show. A special thanks to the East Point Main Street Association for coordinating this event in conjunction with the city. Thank you and have a good night.
Councilmember Cummings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for attending this meeting, either here live or via some means of social media. Just wanted to thank again, like I said, everyone for coming out. And my biggest thing, I just wanted to ask everyone to enjoy your 4th of July, but to make sure that everyone is safe. Me being Atlanta firefighter, I want to also send a special prayer out to a family. I won't divulge their names, but the incident that took place on the interstate day before yesterday with the wrong way driver that went down Highway 20 and ended up going head on, and ended up, he lost his life as well as that driver of that vehicle that he went head on with. So I just want to encourage, because I'm seeing it firsthand on a daily basis being a firefighter, but just to encourage everybody to make sure that we are as safe as possible. If I know it's the holidays and I know we're out, we're having a good time and we're drinking, please, 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 if you do feel as though you have had too much to drink, pass your keys off to someone else, take an Uber, take a taxi, stay where you are. But just want to make sure that everyone is safe. I mean, because it was tragic. This was a young couple, and this man ended up losing his wife. And because of the dynamics of the accident, ended up being a crime scene. So can you imagine sitting on the side of the interstate for 2.5 hours until medical examiner comes out, and you can't go next to your loved one? Because we just had to keep him at bay until the investigation was completed. So again, my thoughts and my prayers are definitely with this young man, his family, and just to make sure that everyone is safe this holiday on tomorrow. Thank you.
Councilmember Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I want to just applaud GMA for the conference that they had. I continue to pick up good nuggets. It was a great conference in Savannah. I also want to acknowledge we had a brunch with the Black City Council of Georgia. I want to thank the council members who participated and showed up. I want to thank especially Josh Butler, who came in as a host, as well as attorney Rhea Kim, who also came in as the last minute as a host. And it was a phenomenal event. Big shout out to Mayor Andre Dickens, who came down to Savannah to be our keynote, along with the Mayor Van Johnson, and the nearly 100 city council members, men and women, aldermen and commissioners that participated. It was phenomenal. Now, Ward A, we had a phenomenal July Yard of the Month that goes to Brenda Goza Kernan. She's off of Bonner, which is off of Plantation, which is off of Headland. I met Miss Brenda about 3 years ago at Conley Baptist Church, Pastor Fred Jones, thanks to my colleague who told me to go to that church. And I did, and I met her. She's phenomenal. Her dog is Prince, a beautiful collie. Thank you so much for keeping East Point beautiful. Today, she received a $50 gift certificate from Home Depot, along with a green comic book and a Keep East Point Beautiful Georgia Green t-shirt. In reference to the upcoming Green Team on July 22nd, and that's why I was happy MEAG was here. We already had on our calendar that we're going to be talking solar. So MEAG is going to be coming down. We have Tim Echols, the PS Public Service Commission is going to be coming. And we have a couple more, and it's going to be held right here Saturday, July 22nd from noon to 2. Earlier that day, July 22nd, we're going to have a conversation about the unhoused at the Library of East Point, and everyone's invited, community stakeholders, and unhoused and unsheltered as well. I yield, Madam Mayor. This is your Ward A update.
Councilmember Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say thank you to everyone that came out tonight and also watching online. Just want to remind everyone about the President's Conference, HOA presence as well on July the 15th at the City Annex, 11 to 2. We have people from the city, kind of officials from the city, just talking about ways to be very effective as a president in your neighborhood association. I've been reaching out to presidents, just seeing what other topics they would like to have presented there at the meeting. So that is on the 15th, 11 to 2 at the City Annex building. And I just wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season.
Councilmember Butler.
Madam Mayor, I took your advice. I wrote down some of the things I needed to say. I wanted to say, first of all, thank you to the East Point residents who are here, who are not here, who are watching this on camera. There are a couple of people I want to thank. And I'm going to first thank my colleague for organizing the Black City Councilman. We had a very successful meeting in Savannah where we had, as he stated, 2 mayors speak. I think it's a phenomenal job, and I want to say thank you, Councilman Robertson, for organizing this, being the founder of this event. It's much needed. I would like to say congratulations to Dr. Clayton Taylor Sr. of the St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church for their 57th anniversary for stewarding his congregation. It's a great church. I always love going there. And the most important thank you I want to do is to staff. I think that we on this diocese take for granted how much the staff really does for the city. If we look at all of the events and things that we're doing, staff is involved each and every time with those events. They don't get the 4th of July off. They've been here every weekend for the past 3 months doing something because the council wants to make sure that the East Point citizens get the best we have to offer. And we could not do that without the staff. So I tip my hat off to Public Works, sanitation, police, fire, and the people that work inside this building, because you make it happen. And I just wanted to take this time to do that. And thank you for all that you've done, and know that it's recognized.
All right, I have a couple brief comments. Thank you to Councilmember Shropshire and staff, Kathy Warren, staff, fire, police, public works, sanitation, just everyone on making Wednesday Wind Down a huge success this month. Looking forward to the one next month that is oh, I'm sorry. We are in July already. Yes, this month and next month. The next month's the last one. Congratulations on the job well done with that. Tomorrow is the 4th of July. And I said before, prior to becoming a council member, my service in East Point started with the East Point Main Street Association Board. And I know how much goes into planning that event and also executing that event. So I want to thank every person who is a volunteer member of the East Point Main Street Association Board, as well as to the many who will volunteer to make sure that the 4th of July event tomorrow will be a resounding success. That event has always been done by the East Point Main Street Association. That Taste of East Point and Destination East Point were the three main events that we put on for the city with a volunteer board. We were small but mighty, and so I'm grateful that the East Point Main Street Association is back, is active, and we will have our fireworks tomorrow night at the Commons. The fireworks will be at 9:30. The event time is actually from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. And there will be a number of performers. I can't remember the names, but I will absolutely say them. They have, I believe this is Covey, Vince Ashton, Corin Deanna, or she might actually be Dina. It's Deana. So it might be my namesake. Corin Deanna Lane, and then Zach Spade will be the entertainers. There are a number of vendors that will be out there. It is 1 block from East Point MARTA train station. We encourage people to ride the MARTA train. No weapons allowed, of course. Bring your blankets and chairs, but no outside food or beverage allowed. And it will be at the Downtown Commons area, 2714 East Point Street. So again, so many thanks to East Point Main Street Association Board. Their president is Shelby King, and all of the board members who I'm sure have been working tirelessly over the last several weeks to ensure that this is an amazing event for us, as well as they have a number of partners, Classics 102.9, Hot 107.9, Magic 107.5, and Praise 102.5. And then there's one more here in the corner that I can't see on my phone. But thank you to everyone who's helping to make this event a success. Bring your family, tell your friends, and let's come watch the fireworks together. The fireworks will start at 9:30, and the event will end at 10. I believe that is all I have for this evening. So I'll turn it over to Councilmember Cook for a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor, our agenda tonight was extremely short, but I double checked. We have covered all items, therefore I move that this meeting tonight be adjourned.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Good night, East Pointers.